On this episode, I share with you some vital home maintenance tips that could save your life.
Turn up, let's go.
Welcome everyone to this episode of the Ask Jason Gelios show. I'm your host, Jason Gelios, Michigan Realtor. Really appreciate you guys tuning in here. Appreciate the likes, the comments, and the shares that you have been giving me, so I really appreciate it. And if you're new to this show, go ahead and feel free to follow, subscribe, like, and afterwards, comment and share. So today, I'm going to be sharing 8 home maintenance tips. And this is actually part 1 of 2 episodes because there's a lot of crucial home maintenance tips that you should really be aware of. And so if you own a home or even if you rent a place, you should know about these because they could potentially save your life. So let's go ahead and dive into these tips. So I'm going to be sharing with you 8 vital home maintenance tips that could potentially save your life. So we're going to go ahead and go down this list, and I'm going to provide a little bit of advice as far as each tip. Now, I implore you to get a home inspector, get a handyman to essentially go through your home to make sure that there are no surprises. An inspection is actually a great way to go because they can do a whole inspection for relatively cheap, and they can point out areas that you may have an issue with, right? So, but let's go ahead and go down this list and see if you guys know this or not, right? So, okay, number 1 is test your sub pump to avoid flooding. So you want to make sure that your sub pump works, it's working effectively, and it is all set. So what you want to do is make sure that there's no debris from the outside pipe. Restart the pump, test it, unplug it, plug it back in. Make sure that it is running and it's operating. If there's ever a day where you have a huge rainstorm, right, go in your basement, go where your sub pump is, and make sure that it's operating. So number 2, if you have a window well, clean your window wells to avoid breakage from water pressure. Water pressure can wreak havoc on just about anything, let alone window wells. And so you want to make sure that there's nothing blocking, no blockages from the pipe or whatnot. So, okay. Number 3, check for mice nests near wiring. So, where you would typically find this would be if you have a crawl space in there, or if you go up in an attic. Usually you see this with older homes, although some newer homes, if they have access, they can get in it. But you want to make sure that you don't see any type of mice nests or infestation for that matter, or any evidence that there's any animal by wiring, because that can wreak havoc. And it's not going to just hurt that animal or potentially kill that animal. It could start a fire. It could just do devastating damage. So you want to make sure that you look, attic, crawl space, things like that. Wherever there's exposed wiring and the potential for animals to come in, that's where you want to look. And you can also have a pest control professional look too and kind of, determine if there's any cause for concern. So number 4, clean your dryer vents and avoid a house fire. This is a big one. You would think everybody would know about this one. However, I did know somebody that actually had a faulty dryer, but what started it was essentially lint buildup. And so every time you do laundry, empty out the lint trap, empty all that out, okay? Buy a brush. They're like, I don't know, $4. Buy a brush, okay? Stick it in there. Make sure that all the lint is out of there. And you know what? Go to Home Depot and they have a drill attachment where it's got fiber brushes on the end. You go outside of your house where your dryer vent comes out. You put it in there and you slowly hit the drill. That will scrape off all that lint that builds up out there. So get rid of the lint that your dryer catches. So number 5, protect yourself against termites. People think that termites aren't common, but they're around, especially if you live in Macomb County, right? Termites are definitely around. I've personally seen them. So termites more than likely will start from the basement, and as soon as they find some source of wood, right, they're gangbusters. They can work from a basement to a house, or a crawl space to a house, from a house all the way up to the second floor. I've personally seen it. So you want to make sure that you get that termite inspection, right? They're not that much money, maybe $100, maybe $300. It just depends on who you call. But look for that. You can look for mud tunnels, right, that are all over. So just make sure that you get a termite inspection every so often. It doesn't hurt. Okay. We go to number 6. This one's common. I think everybody knows this, but not everybody does this. Replace the batteries in smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. You should probably do this twice a year. I personally change out the batteries. They're just 9-volt batteries. I change those out probably every 6 months, actually. Don't wait for it to beep, indicating low battery. Okay, change them out as a cheap fix. And the best type of smoke and carbon monoxide alarm to get are the ones that are hardwired, as well as battery backup. So that's what I personally have, is it's hardwired to the house, but if your power goes out or whatnot, you still have the battery backup. So those are the good things that you want to have in place. Always change the batteries out for those. Number 7, make sure your fire extinguisher is working. Now, most people probably don't have access to a fire extinguisher, right? You should have one in the kitchen, one in the basement, maybe even 2 in the basement, right? They're not expensive. Have them all over the house, because you want to make sure that if something does occur, especially if you have a second floor, if something does occur, you want to be able to access it quick, know how to use the fire extinguisher, and spray out the fire. Do your best. Obviously, get out of the house if it's out of control. But if you have like a stove fire and it's a little small one, yeah, grab your extinguisher and handle it. Okay? So, and number 8, which this is the last one of this part 1 of 2 episodes that I'm doing on this, but number 8 is clean your chimneys. Now, older chimneys, if it doesn't have the conversion kit, right, and again, I'm not a chimney expert, but I do know personally, if you have the conversion kit in place or whatnot, where they have the metal going up the chimney, and it's basically propane with fake logs, get it cleaned out probably every 2 to 3 years. But if you have an old school chimney where you're actually doing, using real wood, which again, it's not common unless you are in the rural areas, but have your chimney cleaned out every year by a professional. Don't do it yourself. Have a professional do it. It's not that expensive. So these are 8 home maintenance tips that could potentially save your life. And I want you to be sure to watch next week's episode as well when that's up, because I will have some more tips in terms of home maintenance, things to look out for. Fairly inexpensive. They could potentially save your life though. So that's all we have for today on this episode of the Ask Jason Gelios show. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. And for those of you who like, comment, share, follow, subscribe, really, really appreciate it. Thank you. And for those of you who are new to this show, please feel free to follow me on social media and visit my website. It's allabouttherealestate.com. This show gets uploaded every Thursday, for those of you who don't know. But it's extremely humbling that I have people that find value from the show. And so that's my goal, is to provide value and hopefully give you a different perspective of what a real estate agent does, what a realtor does, because it's not all about just throwing a sign in the yard. For me personally, I like to share value and to give you guys information, and I love the video format. So I really, again, thank you for watching. I hope you guys tune in next week for part 2 of this home maintenance tips series, and make it a great week.